The February National Signing Day, pretty pedestrian affair for most teams across the Big Ten, including at Minnesota. PJ Fleck's class ranks 48th in the country. We're going to dive into that, but more so, look at the transfer portal additions for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. We got Daniel House on the line, joining us, of course, from Gophers Guru. So check out his work, Gophers Guru with Daniel House. Daniel, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Quiet signing day, except, Jim Harbaugh and the Minnesota Vikings and him flying to Minnesota. That was the whole discussion. So Minnesota's transfer additions kind of fell down the news cycle in the Twin Cities yesterday.
So as you see on Daniel's Twitter handle, he covers the NFL as well, in particular the Minnesota Vikings, but I certainly see player breakdowns from across the NFL on Daniel's feed. So track him right there at Twitter, Daniel House NFL. Shoot, if you love the NFL or college football, either one or both. Okay, to the transfer portal and Minnesota's additions, which rank 25th in the country, or top 25 in the country, number 23 to be more specific, according to the 247 newly comprised transfer portal rankings. Just another metric that they and the rest of us are tracking. So your thoughts about these 7 additions?
Interesting roster dynamic right now across the country. Every college coach is trying to figure out how to gain an edge through the portal and kind of treating it like free agency in a sense, where you have holes on your roster. You don't necessarily have to wait for the full 4-year cycle to complete. And also when you're building your 4-year class, you're thinking about areas that you can help yourself in and maybe take some more transfers. And that's where PJ Fleck's philosophy maybe shifted slightly toward taking more transfers than normal, because the Gophers had a lot of success there. Jack Gibbons from Abilene Christian last year became an impact player. Niles Pinckney at defensive tackle, a transfer from Clemson. So Minnesota had a lot of success there. So now they've carried that over and targeted players in positions of need. You look at offensive line, for example. Minnesota's losing 4 key contributors there with Connor Olson, Blaze Andries, Sam Schluter, Daniel Falele, all graduating. A couple of those guys are going to play in the NFL. John Michael Schmitz is the only returning player up front. He's the center, which could be in the running for Remington Trophy next year. Really, really talented center. So Minnesota knew they needed to go out and solidify some of the positions up front. So they were able to land Quinn Carroll from Notre Dame. He was actually the top in-state player in 2019. He's from Edina, Minnesota. And the thing that happened when he got to Notre Dame, torn ACL, then kind of got caught up down the depth chart, never really was able to rise up. So he decided to hit the portal, gave him an opportunity to find playing time. He worked at left guard in practice, but only really played right tackle in games, so has some versatility in his game. And Minnesota, they'll look at everything in the spring and the fall. J.J. Gaudet and Ariante Ursary are 2 athletic tackles, so they knew they needed to get a couple of powerful wide-body guards who could come in and execute their scheme. And Quinn Carroll could be that guy, or he could play tackle if needed. And then Chuck Filiaga from Michigan was a highly coveted recruit coming out and kind of fell down the wayside in the Wolverines depth chart as well. But another guy who's very strong and physical, moves bodies, and showcases enough mobility to fit within Minnesota's scheme. And I think those traits combined with his physicality are going to be a really nice added bonus for Minnesota on their offensive line and give them some experience, because there'll be probably some growing pains there as they start to navigate that. But if you're bringing in guys who have played at the Big Ten level before, that helps. And that's a benefit of the transfer portal, getting 2 players that have been in quality programs at the Power 5 level that can contribute immediately.
Between Carroll and Filiaga, at least their high school rankings almost mirror each other coming into the Big Ten, top 12 in the country along the offensive line, and just off the top 100 list, their original recruiting rankings. We got Daniel House on the line from Gophers Guru, so please check him out for your Minnesota football coverage, whether that be NFL or college football. In regards to the other transfer portal additions, who stands out?
Ryan Stapp, cornerback from Abilene Christian. And like I said earlier, Jack Gibbons was a transfer last year, and that definitely helped him in the process of recruiting Stapp, having a person that played so well within the scheme and grew and got a chance to see what the scheme was like. Minnesota's defense was, a top 10 group in terms of overall efficiency last year, really good run defense team. You just saw how well coached they were. And I think that was key when recruiting Ryan Stapp and watching him play. Very unique athletic traits. His laser time 40 was 4.45, which is in the 82nd percentile. And his shuttle falls within the 98th percentile. So he moves extremely well. Love how you can like transition from a back pedal to opening his hips and break on the football, has nice burst and be able to get into passing lanes. And I think that fits Minnesota's scheme really well with Coney Durr graduating. They needed to get someone on the outside that had some talent, and Stapp definitely possesses unique athletic traits and can mirror receivers tightly out of the breaks. And then also being able to get Beanie Bishop from Western Kentucky, another player who's extremely fast, has some versatility. He's played outside, but mostly in the slot. That's where they need him with Justice Harris graduating. Good special teams player, played across special teams units, can help in the return game as needed when big plays are necessary in games. And I think, Minnesota really relies upon its nickel cornerbacks physicality, getting guys into run fits and helping set the edge. And they really value having physical and versatile players that can play in the slot. So Beanie Bishop should have a pretty big role there. And then you look at defensive tackle, Mark, just being able to get Darnell Jeffries from Clemson. Again, Niles Pinckney, he was a transfer from Clemson, Minnesota going back to Clemson and getting somebody that Niles already had a relationship with. And one of the interesting things about Jeffries is he was having trouble holding weight at Clemson, and it just didn't feel right. And his mom is diabetic. So when he came home, was like, hey, why don't we test you and see what you are right now, your blood sugar, and discovered he was over 500 at the time in blood sugar. So he went to the hospital and was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So that was one of the things and reasons why he wasn't able to hold weight at Clemson. So now they got that whole thing figured out, it sounds like. And very similar playing style to Niles Pinckney, rotated between nose and the three technique spot. So Minnesota can, again, have someone that rotates between both of those positions based upon certain matchups. And I think just getting in here and focusing on the technical components of the game with Minnesota staff could elevate something. But the one guy I think is the sleeper that nobody's really talking about as much is Chris Smith, the transfer from Harvard. Very, very detailed player. I thought when I was watching his film, I'm going, this guy just wins and defeats blocks. He's super quick, excellent detail-oriented player, and uses his hands extremely well to get off of blocks. I think you watch him, and after studying all these players and who Minnesota generally targets and looking at Joe Rossi's scheme, I'm like, this guy is a Rossi player all the way. And I just feel like he's not getting as much PR, but definitely someone that I'm keeping an eye on that could be an outstanding fit in the defense as maybe a rotational player. I think Minnesota will continue to look at all these guys, and their goal is to create a lot of competition up front, and they have some intriguing skill sets already in that room that they can utilize as well.
Jeffrey's a guy that received a spot duty at Clemson over the past 3 seasons, 10 games played, 16 total tackles, and 1 tackle for loss. We got Daniel House on the line from Gophers Guru to break down Minnesota for us as we make our way through 2021 into 2022, about 5 to 6 weeks out from spring practice, and of course 7 transfer portal additions for the Golden Gophers. Daniel, the one guy that jumps out on the transfer list headed in the other direction, and we saw one of the great examples of running back depth in recent college football history last year with this Minnesota team, because you figure Mohammed Ibrahim, one of the best backs in the country, what's Minnesota going to do? And they just brought guy after guy after guy, and it was just remarkable. In total, 5 guys got significant playing time, and they all produced. Is it just a matter, you think, of Kai Thomas moving on to Kansas as a numbers game, and he just didn't see the opportunity there any longer?
Yeah, and wanting to have a feature role probably was a factor in that. And Minnesota now with Mo Ibrahim coming back again, very excited to see what he can do. Just looking at Mo and talking with people, they're saying, looking at him in the facility, going, Mo, geez, you're looking jacked, man. Like, how you feeling? And he's always joking around about just how much time that he's had to put in, to developing strength and working in the strength program and battling his way back from the injury that he had. So The Gophers are very excited to have him back, not only as a player, but a leader. I'm telling you, that guy is one of the most unique people I have encountered while doing this. He just has this ability to bring out the best in his teammates, and they all gravitate toward him. And I think that's something that's really unique, and I'm excited to see what he can do when he comes back. And, it sounds like Trey Potts might try to come back. We don't know a lot about that. Bryce Williams, possibly, there's a ton of moving pieces related to, the running back room, but just having Mo Ibrahim back is huge.
Looking at the Minnesota recruiting class, and I know that it was all put together basically at the December 15th first National Signing Day deadline. 13th ranked in the Big Ten, 48th ranked in the country, 9 enrollees at this point that are already on campus working out. And then we've got another 9 signed. So it's a fairly less than average sized class with 17. Your thoughts about looking at this, because I think on the surface, the average college football fan is going to look at a team that aspires to win Big Ten Western divisions, almost got it done here this past season, won a bowl game, finished 9-4 in the country, 2 years removed from 11-2, and look at 13th ranked in the Big Ten and 48th in the country is not necessarily bringing in the level of talent that, at least again on the surface, that what would be expected.
Yeah, and I want to touch on Bucky Irving, too. He'll be back at running back as well. Someone that, as a true freshman, came in and played extremely well in Minnesota. Is super excited about having him in the strength program for a full offseason. So keep an eye on Bucky Irving as well. I think between him and Kai Thomas, I think Bucky had way more upside as an overall player. So having him stay and be a part of it is going to be huge. But looking at the overall class, I'd say Minnesota's at that point in the development of this roster where they can go, okay, let's target some players that have developmental upside. Let's look at some of their metrics and go, okay, for example, cornerbacks, take some length, some really good transition quickness, guys that have versatility within their skill sets. You look at, for example, Rylan Kelly, someone that has 6'2" size, long arms, fits that Benjamin St. Juste type of mold that they had in 2019. Now he plays for the Washington football team. Getting him in there, and then having Tariq Watson, someone who's super versatile and physical, can play in the slot, maybe play outside, has that type of versatility. That's something that Minnesota values. I was asking Joe Rossi about that specifically with this class, the defensive coordinator, and he said, you got to have those guys that can do a lot of different things, because they ask a lot of their corners, being able to help in the run game, tackle in the alley, cover the shifty, dynamic, slot receivers that you see consistently. So being able to get guys like that, Watson and Rylan Kelly, and, building the cornerback room with high upside players, Aiden Gooseby, another player as well with that length profile, really good wide receiver down in Florida that will play cornerback. So sometimes you see those, ball skills transfer over from playing the receiver position and, understanding it from that side of the table. But, looking at this class overall, I felt like, Anthony Smith was the blue chip guy. I mean, the blue chip player that Minnesota really, really wanted to land, probably a battle that they wouldn't have won under previous regimes, Michigan, Penn State, schools like that going after him. Really, really athletic. You see it on the basketball court, kind of translating over to football, the footwork and the length, size, power that this guy has. He can come in here and really make an impact. I can't wait to see what he does specifically within this defensive scheme, because Minnesota has done an outstanding job of developing pass rushers, and I think fans are going to see that even more now as they get some of these recent cycles, guys develop through that.
We get the Minnesota football story from Daniel House. You should as well at Gophers Guru. So check out Daniel's work right there. Follow him on Twitter at Daniel House NFL, and also Gophers Guru on Twitter. Daniel, we appreciate you stopping by. We'll certainly want to get your insight as we head towards spring practice. Give the 22 schedule a look, and who knows what else is going to happen with this transfer portal humming for just about everybody across the country. So we're only seconds away from another transfer dropping. certainly. So,
Hey, Mark, this is great for people like us. The transfer portal, we've got constant storylines to talk about. Everybody asks, how's your offseason going? I'm saying nice and busy. We got plenty to talk about. So, yeah,
that's it.
we'll see you soon.